Mark Holloway thought this night would end like every other night in their old townhouse on Briar Street in Park Heights. He thought dinner would be quiet, that his wife would serve him, and that his 8-year-old daughter would stay small and silent. He thought he was still the king of that house. He was wrong. The first sound was not a knock. It was a hard crash that shook the front door, like a storm had jumped off the sky and landed on their porch. Blue and red lights spilled through the blinds and crawled across the walls. Leah Brooks froze in her chair, her spoon still in her hand. Her eyes went wide, the way a child's eyes do when the world turns strange all at once. Mark stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. "What the hell is this?" he snapped, already moving toward the living room. His voice was loud, but it was not brave. It was the voice of someone who had never been challenged in his own home. Tiana Brooks did not stand. She did not scream. She did not run. She sat at the table with her hands folded in her lap, like she had been practicing for this moment for a long time. Her heart was beating hard, but her face stayed quiet. The fear that used to live in her bones was gone. In its place was a cold, steady calm that felt almost like winter. The door burst open. Heavy boots hit the floor. Officers flooded in, moving fast and strong. Their flashlights cut through the dim room. One of them called out, clear and sharp, "Marcus Holloway, don't move!" Mark turned, shocked. "You've got the wrong house," he said. "I'm a businessman. I know people. You don't get to storm in here like this." Detective Renee Carter stepped forward. She was a black woman with a firm jaw and eyes that missed nothing. She held a folder in one hand and a badge in the other. "Mark Holloway," she said, "you are under arrest for murder, conspiracy, and money laundering. Put your hands behind your back." For a second, the room went still. Even the air seemed to stop. Mark blinked like he did not understand the words. Then his face twisted. "Murder?" he barked. "That's crazy. This is a setup." 2 officers moved in. Mark tried to pull away, but they were ready. One grabbed his arm, another pushed him toward the wall. The handcuffs clicked shut with a cold metal snap that sounded like a door locking forever. Leah let out a small cry. She slid off her chair and rushed to her mother's side. Her little hands clutched Tiana's shirt, and her body shook. "Mama," she whispered. "What's happening?" Tiana wrapped an arm around her. The hug was tight and safe. "It's okay, baby," she said softly. Her voice was steady, even though her throat burned. "Stay right here with me." Mark heard that calm voice, and something inside him cracked. He whipped his head around, wild in his eyes. "You!" he shouted at Tiana. "You did this to me, after all I've done for you. You think you're clever? You think you can ruin me?" Tiana did not answer. She only looked at him. There was no hate on her face. There was no fear either. She was not the same woman he had slapped and called broke. She was not the woman who kept her head down in the kitchen and said yes to keep the peace. Tonight she was a wall he could not climb. Mark took a step toward her, but the officers held him tight. "You don't know who you're messing with," he yelled. "You don't know what I can do." Detective Carter nodded to her team. "Take him out," she said. Her voice was calm, like she was shutting a file drawer. As they dragged Mark toward the door, he twisted to look back at Tiana one last time. His mouth opened to say another threat, but the words did not come out clean. They came out thin, like smoke. "You're nothing without me," he spit. "Nothing." Tiana felt Leah's grip tighten. She looked down at her daughter's face, wet with fear. In that tiny face she saw every night her child had listened to shouting through bedroom walls. She saw every morning her child had watched her cover bruises with long sleeves. She saw the way Leah had learned to read bad moods like weather, and she knew this was the night that weather changed. "Listen to me, baby," Tiana whispered, leaning close so only Leah could hear. "You are safe. Mommy's here." Outside, sirens wailed. The neighborhood that usually slept through its problems was awake now. Neighbors stood on porches in pajamas. Phones came out. The street glowed with police lights, turning the row of houses into a strange red-blue picture. Mark fought as they pushed him down the steps. "Let me go!" he shouted. "This is a mistake. Tiana, tell them." But Tiana did not move. She stayed in the doorway with Leah pressed to her side. She watched him disappear into the flashing night like a shadow being pulled off the wall. Detective Carter walked back inside. She looked at Tiana, and for the first time that night her face softened. "Miss Brooks," she said, "it's done. We're putting him away. Well, protect you and your child." Her hands were not shaking now. She remembered Mark's voice from the last fight. "You're broke, you've got nowhere to go." Tonight those words floated away, like trash in a gutter after rain, and could not return. Tiana nodded once. She wanted to say thank you. She wanted to cry. But a part of her was still listening for danger, like her body had learned to do. So she just breathed, slow and deep, and held her daughter closer. If you are listening to this story right now, maybe from Baltimore, maybe from somewhere far away, stay with Tiana a little longer. What happened tonight did not start tonight. It started months before, with a slap, a secret box, and a plan Mark never saw coming. And by the time you hear the whole road she walked, you might see your own road clearer too. So take a seat, and let me tell you how a woman they called broke turned $7 million into freedom. The story had to go back, because the night of the arrest was only the last page of a long, quiet book. To understand why Tiana stayed so still at that table, you had to see what life looked like before anyone kicked in the door. It was late August of 2024 inches, Baltimore. Warm and heavy, even in the morning. At 7:30 a.m., the Park Heights townhouse was awake. The kitchen was small, the clock over the sink ticked too loud, and a city bus hummed past outside. Tiana Brooks moved through the room like someone trying not to make a sound. Upstairs, in the narrow bathroom, she faced the mirror. Steam fogged the edges, but her face was clear enough. She was 35, yet the worry lines around her eyes made her look older. A faint bruise shadowed her cheek. She had covered it with makeup, but she could still see it. She touched it softly, then lowered her hand. Tiana tried to remember the woman she was before she married Mark Holloway. Back then she laughed easily and talked about dreams like they were real places. Now her mouth stayed closed most of the time, and her dreams felt far away. For a moment she felt nothing at all. Not sadness, not anger, just numb quiet, a blanket her mind used to keep from breaking. Then she heard small feet on the steps. "Mama?" Aaliyah's voice floated down the hall. "You in there?" Tiana blinked and opened the door. "I'm here, baby." Aaliyah Brooks stood there in blue pajamas, hair in a messy puff, eyes still sleepy but already serious. She looked up at her mother. "Are you okay, Mama?" Tiana's chest tightened. She hated that her daughter knew to ask that question. She knelt and smoothed Leah's hair. "Yes, my love. I'm just a little tired." Leah nodded, still watching, as if she was making sure her mother would not vanish. She did not ask about the bruise. She had learned not to. That learning hurt more than the bruise itself. They went downstairs. Leah climbed into her chair at the small table. Tiana poured cereal and set out toast. On the fridge, a bright magnet from Leah's school in Towson said Magnet Scholar. It was a tiny star in a dim house. Tiana had fought hard to get Leah into that school. If home could not be safe, at least school would be. "Eat up, sweetheart," Tiana said. "We don't want to miss the bus." Leah took a bite, then paused. "Did Daddy leave already?" Tiana listened for the shower upstairs. Mark was still getting ready. Even thinking his name made her stomach tighten. "He's upstairs," she said. Leah went quiet. Her eyes drifted to the stairs. She was listening for his steps, for the slam of a drawer, for the sound that meant the day would go bad. Tiana saw it and felt a sharp pinch of guilt. Mark had not started out cruel. When Tiana met him, he was polite and charming. People liked him. At first, she believed she had found a safe place. Then the rules began, slow and quiet. "Where are you going? Who are you talking to?" He said it was love. When she wanted to visit family, he said they were a bad influence. When she took a part-time daycare job, he called it pointless, because he could handle the bills. So she stayed home. The walls closed in so slowly that she hardly noticed. The first slap came after a small disagreement. Mark's hand moved fast, his face calm, like he was teaching a lesson. "Don't test me," he said. After that, the violence came in waves. Weeks of quiet, then one hard night, always after she spoke up. Outside the house, Mark wore a friendly mask. Neighbors saw him smile on the sidewalk and talk big about family. Inside, the mask dropped. His voice turned low and cold. He liked rules more than people. He liked watching Tiana shrink. A slam upstairs snapped her back. The shower stopped. A drawer hit shut. Tiana's shoulders rose without permission. She breathed in slowly and forced them down. Leah noticed. She always noticed. "I'm done, Mama," Leah said. "Good girl," Tiana replied. "Go brush your teeth. I'll pack your lunch." While Leah went upstairs, Tiana filled a lunchbox with a peanut butter sandwich, apple slices, and a note. She wrote a short line every day: "I love you," or "You are brave." She wanted those words to live inside her daughter like seeds. Mark came downstairs in a white shirt and black slacks, smelling of sharp cologne. His watch shined. He looked like a man ready for work, not a man who left fear in his wake. "Morning," he said without looking at her. "Morning," Tiana answered. He poured coffee and scrolled his phone. "Towson bus still comes at 8:20? "Yes. Make sure she's on time. That school costs me plenty." Tiana swallowed. Correcting him was a spark. Sparks became fires. He glanced around. "Where's my blue tie?" "In the closet, left side." Mark frowned. "You could have had it out." His eyes slid to her face, measuring. "I'm sorry," she said automatically. He stepped closer, voice dropping into that private cold. "We need to talk tonight. About my parents." Tiana felt dread tighten like a knot. She kept her voice soft. "Okay." Leah came down with her shoes on and her backpack tugging at her small shoulders. Mark's face changed the moment he saw her. The cold mask slipped into a warm one. "Hey, Peanut," he said, smiling for his daughter. "Ready to learn today?" Leah nodded. "Yes, sir." Hearing "sir" from an 8-year-old made Tiana's stomach twist. Leah took her mother's hand and stood close. Mark kissed Leah's forehead. "Bye, baby girl." "Bye, Daddy," Leah whispered. Then he looked at Tiana again. "Don't forget what I said." The smile vanished. The door shut. The house got quiet. Quiet did not feel safe, but it did feel like air. Leah looked up. "Is Daddy mad again?" "Hez busy," Tiana said. "Come on." They walked down Briar Street. Row houses sat shoulder to shoulder, paint faded, porches stacked with old chairs. A neighbor waved. Tiana and Leah waved back. At the bus stop, kids laughed and talked. Leah stayed close to her mother. "You gonna be okay today?" she asked. "I'll be okay," Tiana promised. "And so will you." The bus hissed up. Leah climbed on, turned back, and said, "Love you, Mama. I love you more." When the bus rolled away, Tiana watched until it turned the corner. Tonight, Mark wanted to talk about his parents again. He had been pressing that idea for weeks. Standing there alone after the bus left, Tiana let her shoulders drop. The street was bright, but her chest felt gray. She thought about the last time she had felt truly safe. It was years ago, sitting on her father's porch in North Carolina. He had told her, "Baby girl, love should never make you smaller." Back then she had laughed and said, "I know, Daddy." Now she whispered the words to herself like a reminder she wasn't sure she deserved. On the walk back, her phone buzzed once. An unknown number. She stared at it, then slid the phone into her pocket. Mark sometimes checked her calls. She couldn't risk him asking questions. In this house, questions were dangerous. His parents lived in a big house in Owings Mills, neat lawns, sharp rules, and a way of smiling down at her. Moving there would mean giving up the last small space that felt like hers. Worse, it would put Leah under their control too. Back inside, Tiana cleaned and waited. When Leah came home from school around 3, she carried a drawing of a bright house with a big sun. She smiled as she showed it to her mother, but her eyes searched Tiana's face first, as if checking the mood of the room. Tiana praised the picture and hung it on the fridge, even though her hands were shaking inside. She made a snack, helped with homework, and kept her voice gentle because she wanted Leah's afternoon to feel normal. For one more hour, she could pretend. The hours passed in quiet loops. By late afternoon, she started dinner early. Seasoned chicken, rice, green beans. Her hands moved on habit while her mind listened for Mark's car. At 6:45, the engine sounded outside. Mark came in already on his phone, laughing softly for whoever was on the other end. He hung up as he entered the kitchen, and the friendly voice vanished. "What's for dinner?" he asked. "Chicken and rice," Tiana said. He sat. "Sit down. We need to talk." Tiana dried her hands and sat across from him. Her body felt like it was bracing for a hit before anything even happened. She kept her face still. I talked to my parents today, Mark said. We're moving in with them next month. The words landed like a hammer. Tiana felt her stomach drop. She forced air into her lungs. It's better for us, he went on. Costs are up, their house is bigger, and I want Leah around family. Tiana heard the speech, but she also heard the truth hiding inside it. I want you where I can control you better. She looked down for one breath, then back up. Her voice came out soft but clear. Mark, I don't think that's a good idea. Mark's eyes narrowed. The air in the kitchen went tight and sharp. The quiet life she had been surviving in was about to crack wide open. Mark's eyes narrowed. The kitchen felt smaller, like the walls had leaned in to listen. The overhead light hummed above the table, and the ceiling fan pushed warm air in slow circles. In the living room, 8-year-old Leah Brooks was coloring quietly. Every time her pencil scratched the paper, Tiana Brooks felt a little tug inside her chest. She did not want her daughter to hear another fight, but she also knew silence had been teaching Leah the wrong lessons. I don't think that's a good idea, Tiana said again. She kept her voice low and even. This is our home. Leah feels safe here. And I do too. Mark Holloway set his fork down. He didn't slam it. He placed it on the plate with the slow care of a man who liked control. He looked at Tiana the way he looked at numbers on a screen, like he was deciding what to do next. I'm not asking for your opinion, he said. His voice was quiet, and that quiet was sharper than shouting. I'm telling you what's happening. Tiana held her hands in her lap. She pressed her fingers together until her nails hurt. She remembered to breathe, one careful breath at a time. Mark always called his orders decisions for the family. If she pushed back, he called it disrespect. I'm your wife, she said. I should get a say in where we live. Mark let out a short laugh, not warm at all. A say? He repeated. What say do you have? I pay for everything. I work. I handle the bills. You stay home. You do what needs to be done. The words hit her like a damp towel across the face, familiar, humiliating, meant to keep her small. For years, those lines had worked. They had folded her into the shape he wanted. Tonight, they landed, but they didn't bend her the same way. She glanced toward the living room doorway. Leah was still drawing, but her head was tilted toward them. She was listening, even when she tried not to. Tiana turned back fast, forcing a gentle tone. We can manage our bills here, she said. If money is the worry, I can go back to work. I've been looking at jobs. Mark's head snapped up. His eyes flared, then cooled into something hard. You don't need to work, he said. I want to, Tiana replied. The firmness in her voice surprised even her. It was small, but it was real. Mark leaned forward. You want to work because you want to be out of this house, he said, because you think you can do better than me. That's not what I said, Tiana answered. That's what you mean, he shot back, like his guess mattered more than her truth. He stood, walked to the counter, and poured more water into his glass. He spoke with his back to her, the way he did when he wanted the last word to feel like a wall. My parents' place in Owings Mills is bigger, he said. A yard, extra rooms. They know how to run a real household. You'll have help. Leah will be around cousins and family. This townhouse is too tight, too expensive. Well, be better off there. Tiana had been to that house enough times to know what help meant. Loretta Holloway would tell her how to cook, how to dress Leah, how to greet guests, how to sit, how to speak. Harold Holloway would talk over her as if she were a child. They never called her by her name without a sharp edge behind it. Living there would mean waking up every day under their eyes, with Mark smiling proudly beside them. She kept her voice steady. Every time we go there, your mom treats me like I'm a guest who forgot to leave, she said. She corrects me in front of Leah. Your dad talks like not even in the room. They don't respect me. Mark turned, glass in hand. His jaw tightened. Because you don't show respect first, he said. I do, Tiana replied. All the time. Mark shook his head slowly, like he was teaching her something simple. Then you'll be fine. No, she said softly. He froze. What? I said no, Tiana repeated. The word was small, but it didn't wobble. Inside her, the old numbness cracked and let fresh air in. She could feel her heart racing, but her voice stayed quiet. I don't want to move in with them. The fan kept turning. The tick of the clock got louder. Leah's coloring stopped. Tiana could feel her daughter's eyes on the doorway. Mark stared as if he had misheard. "You will not tell me no in my house," he said. "Our house," Tiana corrected before she could stop herself. Mark's chair scraped the floor as he stepped closer. His shadow fell across the table. "Listen to me," he said, low and flat. "You are acting like you've got choices. You don't. You're broke. You have no resources. You have nowhere to go." The sentence was one he had used before, like a lock he clicked shut whenever she reached for a doorknob. Tiana felt a familiar tremor of fear touch her ribs, but she held it down. She thought of Leah's small face at the breakfast table that morning. She thought of the way her daughter asked, in a voice too quiet for a kid, if Mama was okay. She thought of how Leah whispered, "Yes, sir," instead of "okay, Daddy." The fear was real, but it wasn't the biggest thing in her now. "I'm not acting like anything," she said. "I'm speaking the truth. Leah needs a calm home. She doesn't feel calm there. She'll be calm because I say she will," Mark snapped. Tiana stood. She didn't plan it. Her legs lifted her anyway. She was still smaller than him, but standing made her feel less like a chair he could push around. "Mark, please hear me," she said. "I don't want to fight. I can't live under your parents' roof. I will lose myself there. And Leah will lose her childhood." Mark's nostrils flared. "You're being dramatic." "I'm being honest." He stared at her, measuring her, like she was a stranger who had borrowed his wife's face. He wasn't used to her holding his eyes. He wasn't used to her using full, clear sentences. All he knew was that he didn't like it. "You think you're smarter than me," he said. "You think you can question my decisions. I'm not questioning you to hurt you," Tiana said. "I'm asking you to care about what your family really needs." Mark's mouth twisted. "My family needs order," he said, "and you need to remember your place." Tiana felt herself tremble, not from fear now, but from something sharp and tired inside her. She lowered her voice even more so Leah wouldn't hear every word. "My place is beside my child," she said. "Not under your parents' thumb." Mark took another step closer. His voice dropped to a hiss. "Don't push me." Tiana didn't move back. She didn't raise her hands or point a finger. She was careful, calm, and still. "I'm not moving," she said. Mark stopped breathing for a beat. The surprise on his face flashed so quickly it almost looked like fear. Then anger spilled over it. "What did you say?" he asked. "I said, I'm not moving," Tiana repeated. Mark shook his head, slow and deadly. "You forget who you are talking to." "I know exactly who I'm talking to," Tiana said. She surprised herself again. "A man who says he loves his daughter but won't listen to what scares her." That was the wrong sentence. She felt it the moment it left her mouth. Mark's eyes went dark, as if a light had snapped off behind them. "You don't bring her into this," he said. "You don't use my child against me." "She's our child," Tiana replied. Mark's hands curled into fists. His shoulders rose and fell once, fast. The air felt hot enough to burn. "If you are listening to this story, maybe with a cup of coffee in your hand or the TV low in the background, stay with us here. This is the moment where a house can turn into a battlefield without anyone outside ever knowing. If you've ever felt a conversation like this squeeze your chest, hit like so this story reaches someone who needs to hear it too." Mark didn't look at the doorway anymore. He didn't care that Leah might be listening. All he cared about was the crack he felt in his control. "You think you can walk out?" he said. "With what?" "No job, no money, no family in this city. You're lucky I took you in." Tiana swallowed. His words were poison, but they were also old. She had heard them in so many fights that they had worn grooves in her mind. Tonight, for the first time, she didn't fall into those grooves. "I'm not your project," she said. "I'm your wife. I'm Leah's mother. I deserve respect." Mark laughed again, harder this time. "Respect is earned." "I've earned it," Tiana said. "You just don't want to give it." Mark's face tightened into a mean smile. "Let me make this simple," he said. "Tomorrow I'll call my parents. We start packing next month. End of story. You will do what I say. You understand?" Tiana's cheek warmed, not from a hit, but from the memory of every hit. She felt fear flicker, yes, but above it was a cold, clear promise to herself. "No," she said. The word hung there, bright as a match. Mark's jaw worked as if he were chewing on glass. He stepped closer until the edge of the table pressed into Tiana's thighs. "You are testing me," he said softly, "in front of my child. In my house." "Our house," she corrected again, even though her heart was pounding so hard she could barely hear herself. From the living room came the soft scrape of a chair. Leah had stood up without Tiana noticing. She was halfway to the doorway, clutching her drawing pad to her chest like a shield. Her eyes moved between her parents. She did not cry, but her face was tight with fear, the way a child looks when she wants to vanish. Tiana saw her and felt guilt and love at once. She kept her voice gentle. "Leah, baby, go wash your hands for dessert," she said, trying to send her away from this storm before it broke into something worse. Leah hesitated, then nodded and slipped upstairs, small steps quick and quiet. Mark lifted his hand. Tiana saw it before it landed, not because he moved slow, but because she knew this moment by heart. She had read it in his shoulders, in the tight line of his mouth, in that cold calm that always came right before his temper broke. For one thin heartbeat she hoped he would stop, but Mark's pride was louder than her hope. His palm cut through the air and struck her face. The sound was sharp, like a book slapped shut. Tiana's head snapped to the side. Heat rushed across her cheek, then a hot sting spread under her skin. Her ears rang, but the worst pain was the small gasp she heard at the top of the stairs. Aaliyah had not gone far. She froze on the steps, one hand on the railing, the other clutching her drawing pad. Her eyes were wide and wet, too shocked to move. "Daddy?" she whispered. Mark breathed hard, like he had done something brave instead of cruel. He looked at Tiana as if she had forced him. "You will not talk to me like that," he said. "I told you your place." Tiana touched her cheek slowly. Her fingers trembled. The sting was real, but something else was rising inside her. For years, a slap like that would have dropped her into fear. Tonight, after the hit, she felt a cold run through her bones. Not the cold of the room, a cold that turned fear into a hard, clear line. Her heart raced, but her mind went still, like a lake in winter. She looked past Mark to the stairs. "Leah, baby," she said softly. "It's okay. Come here." Aaliyah shook her head, then took a tiny step back. Her lower lip quivered. She wanted to disappear. Mark saw her and put on his public face. "Go to your room, Peanut," he said, smooth and fake. "Adults are talking." Aaliyah didn't move. She stared at her mother's red cheek like her brain could not understand what it meant. Tiana swallowed and kept her voice gentle. "Sweetheart, go upstairs. I'll come in a minute," Aaliyah whispered. "I'm sorry, Mama." Those words hit Tiana harder than the slap. A child should not be apologizing for a grown man's violence. "No, baby," Tiana said, her voice cracking. "You didn't do anything wrong. Go on." Aaliyah turned and ran up. Her bedroom door clicked shut. The sound was small, but it echoed inside Tiana's chest. Mark's mask fell again. "You see what you did?" he said. "You upset her. You keep pushing me." "I didn't upset her," Tiana answered. "You did. Watch your mouth." "You hit me," she said quietly. In front of her. Mark stepped closer. "Because you forced me to," he hissed. "You don't understand your position in this house." His words were old. They used to chain her. Now they sounded like tired noise. "I'm not moving to your parents' house," she said again. Low, steady, unbroken. Mark blinked, surprised that she still spoke. "You're stubborn. You think you can stand up to me? You don't have money. You don't have a job. You're nothing without me." There it was, the line he used like a lock. Tonight it did not lock her. "Go to bed," he snapped. "Well, talk tomorrow, and you'll come to your senses." Tiana did not answer. She turned away slowly and dabbed her cheek with a towel. Mark muttered and stomped into the living room. The TV turned on loud. He wanted the house to feel his power. She stood still for a moment, listening to his steps fade downstairs. The old part of her wanted to follow him, to say sorry, to fix the night so the house could be quiet again. That part had kept her alive. It had learned to read Mark's moods like weather. Flat voice meant danger. Tight jaw meant silence. A slammed cabinet meant hide your feelings. She went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on her face. In the mirror, a red mark was already spreading on her cheek. She pressed an ice pack to it and watched her own eyes. They were tired, but they were open. She thought of the first slap years ago, how he had cried sorry the next day and promised it would never happen again. After that, the sorries grew thin and the hits grew easy. She thought of the smaller hurts too, how he checked her phone, called her family nothing, laughed at her dream of working again. Little cuts that stole her confidence one day at a time. Then her mind went to Leah, clutching that drawing pad like a shield. A child should be thinking about recess, not about making herself small. Tiana felt the cold decision settle deeper. "Not anymore," she whispered. The words were soft, but they felt like a lock turning the other way. She was done living in shadows now. Tiana went upstairs. Aaliyah's door was cracked open. Soft light spilled into the hall. Tiana knocked. "Leah? It's Mama." "Come in," a small voice said. The room smelled like crayons and strawberry shampoo. Aaliyah sat on her bed with her knees hugged to her chest. Her drawing of a bright house lay beside her. Tiana sat near her. When she lifted a hand toward her daughter's hair, Aaliyah flinched just a little. That tiny flinch cut deeper than any bruise. "I'm sorry you saw that," Tiana whispered. "I shouldn't have come down," Aaliyah said. "If I stayed upstairs, maybe Daddy wouldn't." She couldn't finish. Her eyes dropped. Tiana turned her child's face gently up. "Listen to me. Nothing Daddy did is your fault. Not one bit. Do you hear me?" Aaliyah nodded, but fear still lived in her eyes. "Daddy gets mad because I talk back," she said. "I heard him say you make him mad." Tiana's throat tightened. "Daddy gets mad because Daddy chooses to," she said carefully. "You and I are not responsible for his hands. We are responsible for staying safe." Aaliyah swallowed. "Are we safe?" The question was small, but it carried a whole storm. Tiana pulled her into a hug. "We will be," she said. "I promise." She held her until her breathing slowed. When Aaliyah lay down, Tiana tucked her in and kissed her forehead. "Good night, Leah. Love you, Mama. Love you more." Tiana closed the door and walked to her own room. Mark's laughter from the TV floated up like it belonged to a stranger. She shut her bedroom door, leaned against it, and slid to the floor. Her body felt tired of holding itself together. She stared at the carpet, replaying Aaliyah's flinch, and that whispered, "I'm sorry." The fear in Tiana was real, but it moved to the edges now. In the middle was something colder and stronger, a decision. She stood up. In the closet, under old blankets and baby clothes, she had hidden a small metal box for years. She had never shown it to Mark. She had feared what it represented: family money, old grief, and danger. But tonight she saw it as a door. She pulled the box out and set it on the floor. Her hands hovered over the latch. Then she opened it. Inside were neat stacks of papers, a will, trust documents, bank letters, proof that her late aunt had left her a $7 million inheritance. The money had been waiting while Tiana lived like she had nothing. $7 million didn't feel real at first. It felt like a mountain she had been too scared to climb. Fear flashed, fear of what Mark would do if he knew, fear of his greed, fear of his connections. Then she heard her child's voice again. "Are we safe?" Tiana laid her palm on the papers. "You are my armor," she whispered. Not because money fixed everything, but because it gave her choices. It gave her a path out. She closed the box and slid it back into hiding. Her heart beat steady now. The full plan was not there yet, but the first truth was, she would not stay trapped. She would not teach her daughter that love meant fear. She didn't go back to bed right away. She sat on the edge of the mattress and listened to the house settle. Mark's TV was still loud downstairs, then finally clicked off. The city outside hummed with late-night buses and far sirens. Tiana pulled an old spiral notebook from her drawer. On the first blank page she wrote one word: safe. Under it she wrote what safe would need: a place Mark couldn't find, a plan for Leah's school, a lawyer she could trust, and proof of what Mark was really doing behind his smooth smile. She didn't have those things yet, but writing them made her feel less trapped. She thought about calling Andre Whitman right then, but stopped. Mark sometimes checked the phone records. She would have to pretend a little longer. She hated that, but she knew pretending could buy time. Her cheek throbbed in slow waves. Each pulse felt like a reminder that better moments don't arrive on their own. You make them. She lay back and closed her eyes, picturing Leah running without fear, picturing a kitchen where Tiana could breathe. The picture was far, but it was real now. When sleep came, it was light. Her decision stayed heavy inside her, steady as a stone. Later, Mark came upstairs and fell asleep fast, as if nothing had happened. For him, it was another night. For Tiana, it was the night the war began. And in the closet, 7 million reasons waited to help her win. Tiana did not sleep much after the slap. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Leah on the stairs, clutching her drawing pad like a shield. Mark slept beside her without a care, breathing slow and heavy, as if nothing had happened. That made something in Tiana turn cold. She was scared, yes, but she was more scared of letting her daughter grow up thinking fear was normal. Around 3 in the morning, Tiana slipped out of bed. She moved like a shadow, careful of the old floorboards. In the bathroom, a small light showed her face clearly. The mark on her cheek had turned dark and swollen. She pressed an ice pack to it and watched her eyes in the mirror. They looked tired, but they were awake in a new way. She was done waiting for life to change on its own. She went to the closet and pulled out the metal box again. Her hands shook as she opened it, not because she doubted what was inside, but because she knew what it could change. Neat papers rested there. A will, trust letters, bank statements. Her late aunt had left her $7 million. Tiana had kept it secret for years. Back then, the money felt like a heavy ghost. It reminded her of grief and problems she did not want to touch. Now she read the pages slowly. 7 million was too big to picture, but the meaning was simple. The money was hers, and it meant choices. It meant a door out. It meant a future where Leah could breathe. Tiana folded the papers and put them back. She slid the box deep under the blankets again, but her mind did not slide back into hiding. She took her spiral notebook and wrote one word on a fresh page: safe. Under it, she listed what safe would need: a lawyer she trusted, a plan to leave without warning, a new place to live, and proof, because Mark always bent stories his way. If she left without evidence, he could claim she was the victim. She would not let him do that. She listened to the house for a moment. Mark's footsteps were quiet upstairs, and Leah's soft breathing came through the wall. Tiana told herself. One more careful day, then another, until the door was ready. Before dawn, she crawled back into bed. When Mark stirred, she pretended to wake up too. She knew his morning rules: breakfast on time, no questions. So she moved through the routine like last night never happened. She made eggs and toast, packed Leah's lunch, and kept her sleeves long. Mark walked in wearing his work clothes and a calm face. He glanced at her cheek once, and said nothing. That silence was his way of saying, "I'm still in charge. I'm stopping by my parents' house after work," he said. "Well, pick your room. Start thinking about it." Tiana nodded. "Okay." Mark watched her. "You're not still upset, are you?" She lowered her eyes. "No. I've been thinking." "Good," he said, pleased. He smiled for Leah, kissed her forehead, and left. The door shut, and the air in the kitchen felt lighter. Leah looked at her mother with careful eyes. "Is Daddy mad?" Tiana forced a gentle smile. "No, baby. Hez just in a hurry." Leah rubbed her spoon against the bowl. "Your face hurts." "It's going to be okay," Tiana said. Leah hesitated. "Did I make him mad?" "No," Tiana said, firm but kind. "Nothing you do makes grown-ups hit. That is not your job." Leah nodded, letting the words settle. When the bus came, Tiana hugged her tight. "Have a good day, Leah." "Love you, Mama. I love you more." After the bus turned the corner, Tiana went inside and locked the door. For a minute her hands shook over the sink. She let them shake, then took a breath and opened her contacts. She scrolled to an old number she had not used in years. Andre Whitman. Andre was the attorney who had handled her aunt's estate long ago. He was sharp, calm, and honest. If anyone could help her step out safely, it was him. Mark checked phone bills, so Tiana took out a burner phone she had bought months earlier just in case. Her chest tightened as she dialed. Andre answered quickly. "Whitman Law." "Andre, it's Tiana Brooks," she whispered. "My aunt was Renee Brooks." There was a pause, then recognition. "Tiana, I remember you. Are you okay?" "I need help," she said. "I need to leave my husband, for me and my daughter." Andre's voice turned steady and clear. "Are you safe right now?" "Hez at work." "My daughter's at school." "Good. We can file for divorce and a protective order. But once we start, he may lash out. You have to be sure. I'm sure, Tiana said. Then we meet today, Andre said. Somewhere public. Bring nothing that links you to this call. Keep acting normal at home until we are ready. Can you do that? Yes. I'll text you a place to this number. Delete it after you read it. Thank you. She hung up and felt relief and fear together. Relief because she was not alone. Fear because she had stepped onto a road with no easy return. 2 hours later, she drove to Harbor East. Andre had chosen a bright coffee shop with big windows and people coming and going. Secrets could sit there and still look like ordinary life. Andre waited in a corner booth. His hair was salt and pepper now, his glasses simple. He stood when she arrived. Sit, he said gently. Take your time. She sat, hands tied together in her lap. At first the words stuck. Then they came. She told him Mark wanted to move them to his parents' house. She told him about the slap and how Leah had seen it. Andre listened without interrupting. When she finished, he nodded. I'm sorry, he said, and I'm glad you called. I feel stupid, Tiana admitted. I should have left sooner. Andre shook his head. Abuse makes smart people feel trapped. It's not your fault. What matters is your next step. He opened his folder. Here is the plan. First, we file for divorce. Second, we request protection. Third, we move you and Leah somewhere safe before he can react. Tiana leaned forward. I don't want him to take her. He won't if we're careful, Andre said. But I need you to hear something hard. Mark may be more dangerous than you think. I ran a quick check. I found strange money moves, big deposits, offshore transfers, and I saw names around him tied to street crews. That means he may have people who protect him. A chill slid down Tiana's back. She kept her face calm. You think he's in crime? I think there are warning signs, Andre said. So, we move like chess. You don't show your hand. No packing in front of him. We leave and file on the same day. Tiana nodded. I can act normal. Andre studied her. Do you have any resources he doesn't control? Tiana hesitated, then slid one trust letter across the table. My aunt left me $7 million. He has no idea. Andre's eyebrows lifted. That gives you options, he said, but keep it secret until we file. If he learns about it early, he could trap you harder. I know, she whispered. I used to fear that money. Now I see it as protection. Good, Andre said. He handed her a small card. This is my direct line, and here is a shelter number. Memorize them. Don't store them in your phone. They went over details of Leah's school and Mark's schedule. Each answer made the plan sharper. Tiana was still scared, but her fear had edges now. When it was time to leave, Andre said quietly, You're doing the right thing. I'm doing it for Leah, Tiana replied. For both of you. On the drive home, the harbor sparkled. People laughed on sidewalks. The city looked gentle, as if it didn't know what kind of storm lived in one small townhouse. Back at home, Tiana washed her face, reapplied makeup, and practiced a tired smile in the mirror. A smile Mark would believe. Leah came home that afternoon with homework and a new storybook. Tiana hugged her longer than usual. Mama, Leah asked softly, are we really moving? Tiana felt her heart pinch, but she kept her voice calm. We're going to make sure we're okay. That's what matters. Leah nodded and leaned into her arm. Mark arrived after dark, smelling of cologne and confidence. He talked about his parents' house like it was already theirs. He watched her for protest. Tiana nodded in the right places. That sounds fine, she said. I just want what's best for our family. Mark leaned back, pleased. See? You're coming around. Yeah, she murmured. Good girl, he said. The words used to sting. Now they slid off her. She washed dishes while he watched TV. She tucked Leah in, kissed her forehead, and waited until Mark fell asleep. Then she opened her notebook again. On a new page she wrote, Moves. Under it she listed 3 steps. 1. Act normal. 2. Gather proof. 3. Protect Leah. She drew empty boxes beside each line, like steps up a ladder. She knew the days ahead would be dangerous. But she also knew something firm and bright. She was not alone. She was not broke. And she was not staying. In the closet, $7 million waited like quiet thunder. In her chest, a colder, steadier fire was already awake. In the days after the coffee shop meeting, Tiana moved through her life like she was carrying a glass of water on her head. One wrong step, and everything would spill. So she walked slow, smiled at the right times, and kept her eyes open. Mark seemed lighter. He thought the fight was over. He thought her quiet meant surrender. He didn't see that her quiet was a cover. Each morning in late August and early September, the townhouse woke the same way. Tiana made breakfast. Leah ate at the small table. Mark strutted through in his crisp shirt, talking about work and his parents' big house plans. Tiana nodded like she agreed. Inside, her mind was sharp and busy. Andre's plan was simple. Keep Mark calm and collect proof. Mark had always said, "No one will believe you." Tiana wanted the world to believe her without a doubt. She started small. When Mark left for work, she cleaned like usual, but she paid attention to what he left behind. She checked pockets before washing clothes. She looked at the mail before tossing it. She did not take anything that could be missed. She only watched, and she only learned. One morning, she found a receipt tucked in the back of Mark's desk drawer. It was old and wrinkled. The date was 3 years earlier. The words at the top said International Wire Deposit. Below was a bank name she didn't know and an account number that ended in the word offshore. The amount was huge, way too big for a normal bill. Tiana's stomach tightened. Her hands stayed steady. She took a photo of the receipt with her burner phone, then slid it back exactly where it was. Her heart pounded, but her face stayed calm. Over the next week, more clues appeared. A second receipt. A business card with no company name, only a phone number and the letters B.S.C. at the bottom. A string of late-night calls Mark stepped outside to take. Each time he left the room, Tiana noted the time in her notebook. Leah felt the tension, even though Tiana tried to hide it. One afternoon, while they folded laundry, Leah looked up and said, "Mama, are you mad at Daddy?" Tiana shook her head. "No, baby. Grown-up things are just heavy right now." Leah frowned. "Is it because of Grandma Loretta?" Tiana paused. "We're figuring out what's best for us," she said. "That's all." A few days later, Andre called from a private number. Tiana answered in the pantry so Mark couldn't hear. "Tiana," Andre said quietly. "I dug deeper. Mark isn't just controlling. He may be tied to a crew in the city. The Briar Street Crew. That name keeps popping up around his money trails." Tiana closed her eyes. "What does that mean for us?" she asked. "It means we move carefully. If he has protectors, he could try to scare you back into line. I'm also hearing another rumor, and I need you to sit down before I say it." Tiana sat on a low stool. "Someone close to Mark says his ex-wife, Simone Holloway, didn't just leave. She disappeared after she found out too much. The source believes Mark had her killed." For a second, Tiana couldn't breathe. She pictured Mark's calm face after hitting her. Now that face looked like a mask over a cliff. "She was murdered?" Tiana whispered. "That's what the source says," Andre replied. "We need more solid proof, but this changes the risk. If Mark finds out, you and Leah could be in real danger." Fear rose in Tiana like cold water, but it didn't drown her. It froze into anger, clean, sharp, and moral. Simone had been a woman like her. She pressed her palm against the wall to steady herself. "What do I do?" she asked. "Keep pretending for now," Andre said, "and keep gathering evidence. If you find anything that links him to the crew or to Simone, that's our key." Tiana hung up and stood there a long moment, listening to the house. Mark was laughing at the TV downstairs. Life looked normal from the outside, and that made the truth feel even darker. That night, Tiana could not sleep. She lay still beside Mark, staring at the ceiling. She knew she had to learn the truth before Mark moved them into his parents' house. If she waited, she might never get another chance. The next morning, after dropping Leah at her magnet school in Towson, Tiana drove to a small office building near downtown Baltimore. On the second floor was a door with frosted glass that read Caldwell Consulting. She had seen Mark meet Terrence Caldwell there once. Mark had called him an old partner. She walked in with her shoulders tight but her face soft. A receptionist looked up. "Can I help you?" "I'm here to see Mr. Caldwell," Tiana said. "Tell him it's about Mark Holloway." Minutes later, Terrence Caldwell appeared in the hallway. He was tall, neatly dressed, with a quiet, watchful face. "Miss Brooks," he said, surprised. "Why are you here?" "I need to talk," Tiana said. Just 5 minutes. Terrence nodded. Come in. His office was small and tidy. A framed picture of a teenage boy sat on his desk. Tiana noticed it. People with pictures like that cared about someone. Terrence closed the door and stayed standing. This isn't a good idea, he said. Mark doesn't like surprises. I know, Tiana replied. That's why I came when he's at work. I'm scared, she said. Mark wants to move me and my daughter into his parents' house. He hit me when I refused. And I'm hearing things about Simone. Terrence's face tightened. You shouldn't be asking about that. Please, Tiana said. I have a right to know if my child is living with someone who could hurt us. Terrence looked at the picture on his desk, then back to her. The armor on his face cracked. Mark is involved in things you don't want to be near, he said. I am already near them, Tiana answered. I'm in his house. Terrence rubbed his jaw. You don't understand what you're stepping into. Then help me understand. What happened to Simone? He stared at her. If I talk, I make myself a target. And if you don't, Tiana said softly, you leave me and Leah as targets. She's 8. Terrence's shoulders dropped. He walked to the window and spoke without turning. Simone found records Mark kept hidden, he said. Money, names, meetings. She threatened to go to the police. Mark panicked. He told the crew she was a problem. They made her disappear. Nobody talked after that. Tiana felt her blood go cold. So he did it. Terrence turned, eyes tired. Hell say she ran off, but she didn't. Thank you for telling me, Tiana said. Terrence reached into a drawer and pulled out a plain envelope. Take this, he said. It's a list of fake company names Mark uses. If you see them, you treat them like flames. Tiana took the envelope. I won't forget what you did. Go, Terrence said. If anyone asks, you were never here. She walked out with her knees weak but her mind sharp. Outside, the city looked normal, and that felt strange. Back home, she tucked the envelope into her evidence box behind the inheritance papers. She wrote in her notebook, Simone confirmed by Terrence, crew involved. She added a date and time. That weekend, she used Terrence's list like a map. While Mark was in the shower, she sat at the kitchen table with her laptop open and pretended to pay bills. In truth, she searched each fake name online. Some were empty shells, but others linked to warehouses, car lots, and a small import business near the harbor. None of them matched the work Mark told her about. She printed a few pages, folded them into a cookbook, and slid the cookbook back on the shelf. Late at night, after Mark fell asleep, she went through his email on the family computer. She wasn't looking for gossip. She was looking for patterns. She found short messages with no greetings, only numbers and times. She found a calendar invite labeled BSC Meet that had been deleted but not fully erased. She took photos with her burner, then cleared her tracks the way Andre had taught her. On Monday, Mark came home early. Tiana was still in the study, holding a folder she hadn't meant to open. The front door clicked. Her breath stopped. She shoved the folder back into the drawer and wiped her hands on her jeans. When Mark walked in, she was standing by the bookshelf with a dust cloth. What are you doing in here? He asked. Just cleaning, she said, voice light. You know this room gets dusty. Mark's eyes stayed on her for a long second. His mouth twitched, like he smelled something off but couldn't name it. Then he grunted and went upstairs. Tiana waited until she heard the shower start before she let her knees shake. That near miss taught her something important. Mark was starting to watch her more closely. She had to move faster, but she also had to move smarter. The next days were a blur of pretending and listening. Mark grew more excited about the move. He sent pictures of his parents' guest room and said, "You'll love it." Tiana smiled. She packed nothing. She watched everything. One evening, Mark stepped outside to take a call. Tiana stood near the hallway and heard his voice through the screen door. "Yeah, I got it," he said. "She's not a problem. We're moving soon." He laughed. "Briar Street crew don't need to worry about my house." The words made Tiana's skin prickle. She waited until he hung up, then wrote every word down. That night, Andre called again. She told him what Terrence had said. "Okay," Andre said. "That's huge. We still need hard evidence. Paper, photos, something that ties him to those names. But now we know the shape of the monster. I'm not letting him near my daughter one more day than I have to," Tiana said. "I know. Stay steady. We're close." Close felt both hopeful and terrifying. The very next morning a call came from an unknown number. Tiana almost didn't answer, then she did. A man's voice, low and rushed, said, "Hes with them again. Last night. You don't have much time." "Who is this?" Tiana asked. The line went dead. Tiana stood frozen with the phone in her hand. She didn't know who had called, but the message was clear. Mark was still active with the crew. Time was shrinking. She washed her face, packed Leah's lunch, and smiled at Mark as he walked out. All the while her mind was counting steps. At school drop-off, she kissed Leah's head and watched her walk inside. "Be brave today," she whispered. When she got back in her car, she drove slowly around the block, thinking of the last piece she still needed. If you are watching right now, maybe you're older and you've seen a lot of life. Let me say this plainly. Fear grows in silence. If a story like Tiana's feels familiar, don't carry it alone. Tell someone you trust. Leave a comment with your city so others know they're not the only ones. And if you know a person who might need this story, share it. Before she went inside, she sat in the car, hands on the wheel, and prayed for steady nerves, not miracles, just steadiness for her girl. Tiana did not know it yet, but her next step would be the last step before the storm broke open. Mark Holloway was still sleeping in a bed he thought he owned. Tiana drove home from Towson with both hands tight on the wheel. The anonymous warning still rang in her ears. You don't have much time. Her mind moved fast. She kept checking the mirror, half expecting Mark's car to appear behind her. When she turned onto Briar Street, her hands were damp with sweat, yet her face stayed calm. She had learned to look ordinary, even when her heart was racing. Mark had left early for business, and that gave her a window. She parked, walked into the townhouse, locked the door, and listened. No TV, no footsteps, just the hum of the fridge and the soft ticking of the kitchen clock. The quiet felt like a deep breath before a storm. She went straight to the study. Mark's study was his kingdom. There was a heavy desk, a small safe hidden behind books, and binders with labels that meant nothing. Tiana had dusted this room for years. Now she searched it with sharp eyes. She opened drawers one by one, lifting folders, sliding fingers along the back wall, checking every corner. She knew Mark liked to hide things in plain sight. Her fingers found a sealed envelope behind thick law books. No return address, only Mark's name. She opened it. Inside were photographs of Mark shaking hands with men with hard faces and gold chains. There were copies of bank transfers, the same fake company names Terrence had warned her about, and a list of payments too large to explain. At the bottom, in Mark's handwriting, was a note. BSC, keep quiet, pay on time. Tiana felt sick, but she stayed steady. Her first thought was Leah safe at school. Her second thought was Simone Holloway, a woman who had once stood where Tiana stood now. This wasn't only about a slap at dinner. It was about a man who could destroy anyone who tried to leave. She remembered Mark's voice from the night he slapped her. You're broke. You do what I say. For years those words had felt like chains. Now, holding that envelope, she felt the chains fall away. She was still afraid of what Mark might do, but she was more afraid of staying. She pictured Leah growing up scared, learning to say yes, sir, to the wrong kind of love. That picture gave her courage. She tucked her fear behind her calm face and kept moving. This was her moment to change their story for good, forever. She took clear photos of every page with her burner phone, whispering the page numbers to herself so she wouldn't miss one. Then she slid the originals back where she found them and wiped the desk clean. She pushed the books into the exact line Mark liked, because men like him notice small changes. When she finished, she stood still, listening for any sound outside. Nothing. She opened her evidence box, slipped the burner inside, closed the lid, and carried the box to her car. She did not want the proof in the house if Mark came back early. She tucked the box under a grocery bag in the back seat, like she was merely running errands. From a busy grocery store lot, she called Andre. I found it. Photos, transfers, crew names, everything. Andre's voice tightened. Are you alone? Yes. Drive straight to the police. Don't go home with that box. I'm calling ahead. If Mark calls you, don't answer. If he texts, keep it normal. I understand, Tiana said. Tiana drove downtown to the Baltimore City Central District. At the desk, she asked for Detective Renee Carter. Minutes later, Renee led her into a small office. Tiana opened the box and handed over the photos, offshore receipts, fake company list, and Terrence's envelope. Renee read in silence. Her eyes moved faster with each page. When she reached BSC, her face changed. "This is serious," she said. "Your husband is connected to a violent organization. We act today." "Today?" Tiana whispered. "Yes," Renee said. "We'll arrest him tonight. Until then, you act normal. Don't tip him off. Keep your routine. We'll move in at a set time." Tiana nodded, hands cold. "He killed Simone," she said softly. Saying it aloud made her throat burn. Renee's gaze sharpened. "We're opening a full investigation. You did the right thing coming here. Now you focus on your child. If anything feels wrong before tonight, call us immediately." Tiana left the station feeling light and heavy at the same time. Light because someone believed her. Heavy because she still had hours to survive. She drove to Towson to pick up Leah. The girl ran to her with a bright smile, backpack bouncing. Tiana hugged her hard, breathing in the smell of school glue and sunshine. "We read about a brave girl today," Leah said in the car. "She didn't give up." Tiana swallowed. "That's a good story. Brave girls win in the end." Leah looked at her, curious. "Are we brave?" "We are," Tiana said. At home, Tiana made snacks, helped with homework, and kept her voice light. Inside, she counted minutes. She let Leah pick a cartoon, and they laughed at the silly parts. When Mark texted, "Be home soon," she answered, "Dinner will be ready," like nothing was wrong. When evening fell, she cooked dinner like nothing had changed. She set the table, fixed Leah's plate first, and reminded herself, steady. Mark came in at 7:05, humming, holding a folder. He smiled at Leah. "Hey, Peanut, what'd you learn?" "Spelling," Leah said softly. Mark turned to Tiana. "Food smells good. See? I told you we'd be happy once you stopped fighting me." Tiana nodded. "Dinner's ready." They sat at the table. Mark talked about expansion plans and new friends who could help him make big money. He sounded proud. Tiana answered in short, calm lines, keeping her face smooth. At 7:42, blue and red light flooded the room. Mark frowned. "What's that?" Tires stopped hard outside. Heavy steps hit the porch. The front door burst inward. "Police!" someone shouted. Officers poured in. Detective Renee Carter stood in front. "Marcus Holloway, you are under arrest. Hands where we can see them." Mark's chair tipped as he jumped up. "This is a mistake," he yelled. Then his eyes snapped to Tiana, and rage lit his face. "You set me up!" Officers grabbed his arms. He fought, but they pinned him to the wall. The cuffs clicked. Leah screamed, thin and scared. Tiana pulled her close. "It's okay, baby. Stay with me. Look at me, not him." Mark twisted toward Renee. "You don't know who you're messing with. I have people." Renee didn't blink. "You should have thought of that before you murdered Simone Holloway and laundered money with the Briar Street crew." Mark froze. His mouth opened, then shut. He stared at Tiana like she was a stranger. "It was you," he spat. "You did this." Tiana met his eyes and said nothing. Her silence was stronger than any shout. They let him out, still yelling threats, but every step made him smaller. The porch light caught his face as he passed the doorway, and for the first time he looked scared. The door closed. The house went quiet except for Leah's shaking breath. Renee walked to Tiana. "Has gone. Well, keep watch. You and your daughter will be safe." Tiana nodded, tears hot behind her eyes. She kissed Leah's hair. "We're safe now, baby," she whispered. And for the first time in a long time, she believed it. The nights after Mark's arrest felt strange, like the house had forgotten how to breathe. For 2 days, officers came and went, asking Tiana questions, taking photos, sealing folders. Neighbors whispered on their porches. News vans sat at the corner. Everyone wanted to know how the quiet woman on Briar Street had brought down a man who acted like a local king. Tiana did not tell the cameras much. She only said, "My daughter and I deserve to be safe." Then she held Leah's hand and walked back inside. She had spent too many years being loud in her head and silent in the world. Now she chose her words like seeds. Andre Whitman moved quickly. He filed the divorce papers and the protection order. Detective Renee Carter checked in often. "Call me if anything feels wrong," she said. Tiana trusted her the way you trust a strong lock on a new door. 3 weeks later, right after Labor Day, Tiana and Leah moved into a small condo in Catonsville. It was not fancy, but it was bright. The windows faced a little courtyard with a maple tree just starting to turn orange. Tiana bought 2 soft rugs, a blue couch, and a round kitchen table. She wanted a home that felt gentle. On their first night there, Leah walked from room to room like she was checking if the floor might vanish. She touched the walls, opened the closet, and peeked out the window. When she finally climbed into bed, she held her stuffed rabbit tight. "Mama?" she whispered. Tiana sat beside her. "Yes, baby? Are we really safe now?" Tiana felt tears rise, thick and warm. This time they did not feel like surrender. They felt like a door opening. "Yes," she said, "we are safe. Nobody will hurt us again." Leah let out a small breath, like she had been holding it for years. She turned on her side and closed her eyes. Tiana stayed until her daughter's breathing turned slow and even. Life did not fix itself overnight. Some mornings Tiana woke up with her shoulders already tight, expecting a door to slam. Some nights she jumped at a loud car outside. Her body had learned fear the way a child learns a song. It took time to learn a new tune, but every day in the condo taught her something different. She could drink coffee without rushing. She could laugh at silly shows with Leah. She could leave the house without asking permission. Little freedoms, added together, became a new life. She kept Leah in the same magnet school, so her days stayed steady. Every morning they walked to the bus stop, with no fear waiting behind them. Tiana also met with a counselor once a week. Talking was hard, slowly, but each session felt like taking one heavy stone out of her pocket. With Andre's help, she protected her inheritance and set up a future for Leah. For the first time, money felt like a tool, not a ghost. It was there to protect choices. The trial came in winter. Mark sat in court looking smaller than he ever had at home. Evidence of offshore transfers and crew payments stacked up like heavy bricks. When Simone Holloway's name was spoken, Tiana closed her eyes and thanked her quietly. Simone had paid the highest price. Tiana would not waste that sacrifice. Mark was found guilty and sent to prison for many years. The Briar Street crew scattered once arrests began. Power that lives in dark corners can't stand long in bright light. After the verdict, Tiana joined a local group that helped women leave dangerous homes. At first, she only listened. Then she started speaking. She explained how fear works, how planning works, and how to ask for help. She used part of her money to pay for safe rides and legal fees for women who had nothing. Some people called her brave. Tiana didn't feel brave every day. She felt human. She felt tired sometimes. She felt angry sometimes. But she also felt free. And freedom, she learned, is not a loud parade. It is a quiet morning where your child smiles without flinching. One sunny Saturday in spring, Tiana watched Leah play under the maple tree. Leah was drawing with sidewalk chalk now, bright circles and stars. She sang to herself, off-key and happy. Tiana sat on a bench with a cup of tea and let the soft air fill her lungs. Scars would always be part of Tiana's story, but scars are not chains. They are proof you survived. If you're listening and your heart feels tight because this story sounds familiar, please hear this. You are not alone, and you are not stuck forever. Tell someone you trust, call for help, make a plan. Even a quiet plan can change everything. Thank you for staying with me, and with Tiana and Leah, to the very end. If this story meant something to you, please subscribe so you won't miss the next one. If you agree, disagree, or just want to share your thoughts, drop a comment below. And if you want to support this channel, tap like so I know what helps you most. On your screen now are 2 more true life stories I picked for you. Click one to keep listening, and I'll see you in the next story.